What if I told you that there's a hatchback out there with enough space to fit all your buddies but enough power to have fun on the back roads? Now, what if I were to tell you that you can buy one for less than $3,000? Well, there is, and it's made by none other than the economy kingpins themselves, Honda. I am Mark Roden, and this is what makes the Honda Fit so great. In the late 90s, there was a couple of threats on the horizon. Everyone without a brain thought that the end of the world was coming because the computers wouldn't be able to change dates for some reason. And more importantly, people were getting scared of small cars and were saying they were too unsafe and that they needed more space. Due to this, a company by the name of Volkswagen was quickly rising to popularity due to their Volkswagen Golf. The Golf was a car, but much more roomy than a car. It was an SUV, but much smaller than an SUV. It was a wagon, but much smaller than that as well. It was a hatchback, and the people were loving it. The Volkswagen Golf was selling more and more models year after year, and the other car companies just couldn't keep up. So instead of trying to beat them, they joined them. Subaru would offer Imprezas and Outbacks, and Honda would start to offer the wonderful Honda Fit.
Cast-like reflexes, the Fit, new from Honda, the Fit is go.
The Honda Fit was, well, exactly what I just said. It was a hatchback made by Honda in order to answer to the people who were starting to get bored of sedans and coupes, and it did just that. The car was launched in Europe in 2001 and was given the chassis code GD1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, depending on which engine or trim level that you got. Now, the keen listener may have noticed I didn't mention America there, and that's because the first gen Fit wouldn't be launched into the States until April of 2006, because A, back then not many people in America were really looking for hatchbacks, and B, we just so happen to have incredibly strict laws when it comes to safety regulations. So our Honda Fit looked a little bit different from the Fits overseas. It had a slightly larger front clip and it had an extended bumper. We also got all the nice little safety features like side airbags, side curtain airbags, whatever those are, front airbags on both sides, power windows, and air brake assist, which to be honest does suck that we didn't get them for the first 5 years of production, but at least we'll be okay if we crash into some British guy because he's driving on the wrong side of the road. The Honda Fit was produced to be a daily driver and not much more. They never made a performance model for it, and they never marketed the car as a performance vehicle. Or so they say. You see, us car guys have this little code of conduct. If we see any indication that the car we are in has race car parts on it, the car is now classified as a GT3 level race car. And lucky for us, our newly acquired daily driver from Honda had the magical 4 letters on the valve cover. VTEC.
VTEC! Turbo! Hey! Shit! Hey!
VTEC stands for Variable Valve Timing and Lift Electronic Control, but those words may sound confusing to you, so let me sum it up. It pretty much means that car can go quick for absolutely no reason. It has been in Honda motors ever since the NSX all the way back in 1991, and every single time that it's on an engine, people fall in love again. To be 110% honest with you, I still don't fully understand what VTEC does, but I do know that it makes the car almost feel like it's turbocharged in a way, with the way that it seems to like build power at higher RPMs, making sure that you never really have a moment where the engine feels like it's slowing down. And since the Fit's motor was equipped with VTEC, it didn't take long for people to start using these as very odd little race cars. Besides the VTEC, the Honda Fit was not really equipped with many race car parts. The suspension was basic and boring, and it had bad aerodynamics, but it was light as hell, only weighing in at 2,200 pounds, which is only 100 pounds heavier than a damn Miata. On top of that, Hondas like to share the same parts, so a lot of parts that fit onto the Civic or the RSX of the time also fit onto the Fit. But not just the OEM ones, the aftermarket ones too, meaning you could buy coilovers for a Civic and slap it onto a Fit and immediately fix its daily driver suspension problem. So with all of these little upgrades and the added bonus of VTEC, it was no wonder the Honda community picked these up and started using them as odd little track cars. And since most people were still buying them for the practicality, and so they were still getting good sales money, naturally, they would build the next generation. The second generation with the chassis code GE or GG would be launched in 2007 and was everything that the first gen did except a little bit better. It was still offered with the same 1.5 liter VTEC powered inline 4 that made 118 horsepower, and it was still offered with a manual transmission and still shared many parts with other base model Hondas of the time, meaning there was still aftermarket support for them. And the car was only a little bit heavier at 2,300 pounds now, so people once again decided they would use the second generation Fit as fun little autocross monsters. Also, for you boring people who care about safety and gas mileage, well, don't worry, they were even safer than before, and they had a 28 mile per gallon city and 35 mile per gallon highway range on them. What? I know. Overall, the second generation Honda Fit was a massive success. It did exactly what the first generation did, except now a little bit better. It catered to the average folk who just wanted something to get them from point A to point B, but had a little bit of a naughty side for us car guys who like to turn any and everything into a race car. And so, they did it again. Third generation Honda Fit came out in 2015 and in my opinion is the most underrated of them all. People think because it has new technology on it and it's more modern and has new styling that it automatically means that Honda forgot what made the Fit so special. But that is so far from the truth. The car is a little bit heavier at around 2,400 pounds now, but everything else about it, I mean everything else about it, is much more spirited. It dropped the 5-speed manual, but for a damn 6-speed manual. It dropped the single overhead cams VTEC engine, but only to make room for the dual overhead cams VTEC engine, and it no longer made 118 horsepower. It now made 130 horsepower. Literally everything about the third generation Fit, which went by the chassis code GK, GH, or GP by the way, was just 10 times better than the other two generations. Also, in terms of styling, I know I cannot be the only one out there that absolutely loves the looks of the third gen Fit. Now, to say they look as good as the first gen is a bit of a stretch, but they look very good, somewhat like aggressive actually, which kind of makes no sense. But sadly, everything good must come to an end, and for the Fit, the end is way closer than we think. The fourth generation Honda Fit launched in 2020 and went by the chassis code GR or GS, and still to this day in pretty much 2023, we have not got the fourth generation Fit in the United States, which spells trouble since the United States before was making up over 70,000 of the Honda Fit's annual sales numbers. You may not be too upset that this generation didn't come to America because the car was not that big of a difference from the third gen. As a matter of fact, depending on who you ask, it was worse since it had the exact same horsepower numbers but weighed 100 pounds heavier. But the reason as to why it didn't come here is the reason the car will slowly fade away into the history books. We've moved on. People nowadays want to buy crossovers, SUVs, and trucks. Nobody wants to buy these little hatchbacks anymore. They're a thing of the past now. And sadly, the Fit's demise has already started. The car went from selling 200,000 models in 2013, 2014, and 2015 alone, all the way down to less than half that at only 98,000 models in 2020. Part of that could be because we don't get it in America anymore, but America didn't get it in 2002 either, and that was their best selling year ever at 250,000 models. So most likely, the reason it's not selling as well is because of what we all hoped wouldn't happen. The Honda Fit, as we all know it, is slowly dying in front of our very eyes, and unless we start to appreciate the car for what it is and not what it could have been, pretty soon, this little hatchback will become another fallen Japanese car that only the true enthusiasts appreciate. So, the next time you hear someone talk badly on the Fit, remind them that sure, the car isn't a Type R, but if the economy hatchback is starting to fall, then chances are your beefed up race cars will soon follow suit. So Honda, on behalf of the entire car community, thank you for bringing us the Fit. Even though it may not get praise like the Integra or Civic does, we do appreciate it still having those 4 letters that makes a Honda so damn great.
There's a sheriff right there. He's looking at you too, bro. Really? Yeah. He was? Yeah, he was outside the car looking at you. Are you serious? Yeah. Okay, then time to go, if anything.
Thank you guys so much for watching. That is the end of this deep dive on the Honda Fit and what makes the Honda Fit great, whatever you want to call it, but it's about the Honda Fit. I actually don't know why I love these cars, to be honest with you. They're like just little handling dreams. Like, and they're so cheap. You could buy a freaking Honda Fit on, well, you guys, I just literally talked about it for 10 minutes straight. I don't need to talk about it anymore. But you guys, I love the car. Don't sleep on the freaking Honda Fit, everybody. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what other deep dives you'd like to see down below. I'm probably going to do one on the Mitsubishi 3000 GT in a couple of days here. But let me know other ones that you want to see. Excuse me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.